Mysterious kid on TV. On March 2nd, 2025, a Reddit post would be made with a video attached. This has to be the creepiest caught on camera that I have watched. The OP explains that the video was from a local news show in 2003, where every November, viewers submitted their paranormal encounters. This one, however, would be the most convincing the show had ever aired.
Bandang Mayo noong nakaraang taon ay nagkaroon ng paliga ng basketball sa subdivision ni Joseph Grijaldo sa barangay.
The video was submitted by a basketball coach who was recording his kids while they trained. After training, he would review the footage in his home. However, this time, he saw something that he couldn't explain.
Ay walang ibang tao sa lugar.
Kasi ako kung style ko po ng pagkukuha ng video, pag may kakaiba ako nakita, tinututuwa ko talagang sinusundan ko, kahit mga yun talagang doon lang ako nakapokus. Tignan ko lang sila isa-isa wala akong nakita na isa magtumaan na.
A dark figure, presumably a kid, runs past the frame. Now, while this might not seem inherently abnormal, it's what the coach and team say that make it unsettling. He was shocked as he never physically saw that person that day, so he called the kids on the video to watch the tape. The children were shocked and had the same reaction as the coach. They even said during the interview that they felt something was off that day, and something wasn't right, because they felt a cold breeze and it was summertime. In the segments, experts also analyzed the footage and confirmed it wasn't tampered with in any way, meaning this was the raw footage. Now, what exactly was caught on camera that day? Reddit users noted that the figure had no shadow, while the kids around it did, suggesting that this was some sort of paranormal entity. Online, it's argued whether paranormal entities can cast shadows, and the possibility you can only see them on video, which would explain how the coach didn't see the figure during the practice and how it seemingly broke physics. It would also support the team's report of a cold breeze and feeling off. Many people speculate that when you randomly feel cold in environments where it's obscure, this means a spirit went past you. It's also noted this can make you feel sick. There are many videos depicting paranormal entities, but after digging deeper, a far more realistic explanation begins to appear. Human attention is notoriously unreliable, especially in chaotic environments. The entire setting was a group of kids running drills, moving constantly, and focusing on the coach. In situations like that, it's incredibly easy to overlook something that doesn't immediately stand out. A random kid cutting through the frame, possibly heading home or passing through the courts, wouldn't register as important, especially if no one was expecting anything to happen. This is a well-documented phenomenon known as unintentional blindness. When people are focused on a specific task, their brains filter out irrelevant information, even when it's directly in front of them. There are famous experiments where viewers are tasked to track a basketball being passed around, only to completely miss a person in a gorilla suit walking through the scene. That likely explains why the coach never saw the figure in real time, but noticed it immediately on playback. As for the missing shadow, that detail isn't as supernatural as it seems. The footage is grainy and filmed at an angle while in motion. The figure's body is narrow in relation to the sun's position, meaning any shadow would be faint or only visible in certain frames. In fact, if you slow down the video, traces of a shadow do appear briefly, just not consistently enough to be obvious at full speed. That said, while this explanation is the most technically plausible, it doesn't account for every detail people fixate on. One Reddit user added an important detail that complicates things further. This is from the Philippines. I remember seeing this when it aired and it was pretty creepy. I think the whole gist of it too was that the area was newly built, so nobody really lives there, so they weren't sure where the kid came from or going. Black kids are not that common in the Philippines too. If that's true, who was the child, where did he come from, and why was he there at all? There's a chance there's a perfectly ordinary explanation that was never documented surrounding that practice, its location, its timing, and who that kid was. Without more footage or testimony, we'll never truly know what was with them that day. Witch in Saudi Arabia. In May of 2016, a post was made to r/unsolved mysteries. What the actual heck is this video? This video was caught in Saudi Arabia with not much information than that. I know this very obviously could have been some sort of hoax, but the genuine fear in the man's voice makes me question that. The video OP is talking about is footage that was uploaded by a police officer in Saudi Arabia, when one night he was driving down a dark road and encountered something extremely disturbing.
دور شايف غفلة
A woman dressed in white, moving very oddly in the middle of nowhere. Instantly, people deem this to be a witch. In Saudi Arabia, witchcraft is very present. As in the Quran, witchcraft is believed to be a real and major sin, involving very harmful practices taught by devils. From all the info I could find, magic as a whole is very negative and viewed as evil. Because of that, the officer's reaction suddenly makes more sense. Even though he's a trained police officer, potentially armed and accustomed to danger, this wasn't a threat he could respond to in a normal way. If he genuinely believed he was witnessing witchcraft, then fear would be a natural response. Fear of something he couldn't inherently control. However, one Reddit user gave a theory that offered much needed insights. There are Bedouins that live out in the deserts, so the idea that a mentally ill Bedouin woman somehow wandered away from her tent is totally plausible. Source: I lived in Tabuk during my childhood, where the videos claim to be shot. With that added context, the footage begins to look very different. Bedouin communities still inhabit remote regions of the Saudi deserts, and the traditional clothing worn by women closely resembles the figures seen in the video. And then there's the figure's behavior. While these traits are often seen as evidence of something paranormal, they also align with documented symptoms of certain untreated mental health conditions. Severe psychotic disorders, neurological issues, or trauma-related conditions can cause disorientation, impaired awareness of danger, and involuntary or repetitive movements. In isolated desert regions where access to consistent mental health care can be limited, someone suffering from these conditions could easily wander far from safety without realizing it. Without more footage or any follow-up confirming who that woman was or where she came from, the truth remains unknown. Voicemail from my deceased grandma. In August of 2025, a video would start to circulate on horror TikTok pages. They would usually go as follows. POV, it's the 15th of January 2018 and your dead grandma calls you all of a sudden. These videos would then depict the following voicemail.
Lori, your grandma, I love you, mija, and I'll call you because you okay and the kids is okay. Love you, mija. Bye-bye. Call me back.
Though all the voicemail seems like is a heartfelt message to a grandchild, when you look deeper, it becomes much more disturbing. The voicemail didn't come from a safe contact, and according to the person who received it, it was sent on the exact same day 5 years after their grandmother had passed. The question becomes overwhelming. If this was never supposed to happen, where did this voicemail come from? A TikTok user would suggest, maybe the lady sent the audio sometime before she died, but for some reason it hadn't arrived yet. At first glance, this theory seems plausible. There are entire Apple support forums filled with complaints about delayed voicemails, pointing to unstable cellular connections, software updates, or temporary system glitches as the cause. In theory, it's possible that the grandmother recorded the message shortly before her death, and it simply got stuck in the system. But that explanation begins to fall apart when you consider the timeline. A 5-year delay is very extreme. Phones go through countless software updates and system resets over that span of time. For a voicemail to remain undelivered for half a decade across multiple updates and network changes is highly unlikely. Another theory suggests the voicemail may have been scheduled in advance, set to send automatically at a later time. However, this explanation also has issues. Scheduled voicemails aren't a standard feature on most phones, especially not years ago. Pulling off something like that would require third-party apps, decent technical knowledge, and very intentional planning, making it unlikely for an older person to execute this without some sort of help. Then there's the possibility that this was part of an actual crime. Voicemail scams have become increasingly advanced in recent years, specifically those originating from Latin America. Many use AI voice cloning or emotional manipulation, posing as distressed family members to create urgency. Victims receive calls or voicemails that sound eerily real, often pursuing them to send money through wire transfers or gift cards. So, could this voicemail have been an elaborate scam? It's technically possible, but there's major issues with that theory. The voicemail never asked for money. There was no sense of urgency, no request, and no hook. Just a calm, wholesome message, which makes it an odd choice for a scam, especially given the effort required to pull something like this off. After digging deeper, searching for the original uploader, and even attempting to trace the grandmother's identity, I found nothing. No records, and no trace of the woman's passing anywhere online. My conclusion is that the video most likely originated from a single horror TikTok page, created purely for shock value, and later reposted across other pages. With no information on the origins, we will never know the truth behind this video. Gettysburg Wheatfield's Unknown Sounds. In May of 2012, a YouTube channel by the name of MB1554 would upload a video that would make viewers disturbingly confused. The description read, "Sound of rifle and drums heard at the Wheatfield at sunset in Gettysburg. Other than the occasional car passing, we were alone. We followed the intermittent sounds, but could not find anyone nor locate the source of the music. Always ahead of us." The creator is referencing to the Wheatfield at Gettysburg, a location where on July 2nd, 1863, Union and Confederate forces fought in brutal close quarters. By nightfall, over 6,000 soldiers were killed, many never leaving the ground where they left. Today, the Wheatfield is often described as one of the most chaotic and bloodiest sections of the entire battlefield. The creator gets out of their car and starts to record the fields. Almost instantly, you can hear the faint sound of what appears to be rifles and drums. What makes this so disturbing is that the creator claims they were completely alone and could find no trace of where the sounds were coming from. So, what exactly was the sound? A Reddit user said, "People, this is real. I've been there at least 3 times and heard all these things. Gunfire, the drums playing, the weird lights, etc. I left after the 3rd night and haven't been back since. If you want to believe, go there and you'll see for yourself." What many people believe this video captures is the residual energy of the soldiers lost in battle. Basically, the belief that intense, traumatic events can leave an imprint on a location. Not ghosts in the traditional sense, but moments replaying themselves without awareness, like a recording that never stops. However, people have other theories. There could be a number of reasons for the sound off camera, like a sound device held nearby but out of frame, or the car stereo playing the track. It's like those videos of people hearing bang sounds when it easily is just them hitting something out of frame. It's totally plausible that MB1554 set up the video for views. It would be extremely easy to play sounds on a speaker and make up a story. Though this wouldn't explain the numerous reports of people who heard the sounds as well. A Reddit user explains, "Just because there could be an explanation doesn't mean there is an explanation. If you yourself were to record drumming at this exact place at 4 AM, no one around, the nearest residence is 5 miles away, no military drills to be had, no cars on the road, I'm sure you would say there could be underground speakers around to boost tourism. This isn't the first time people hear drums here, and for years before the availability of portable music playing devices. At some point, we have to acknowledge the issue may not be the lack of evidence, it's the one receiving it. Until there's more testimony on this phenomenon, what's making the sounds and where it comes from remains a mystery."